It is 1:22 a.m. The Arabian Sea, 260 nautical miles southeast of the Strait of Hormuz, in water that runs 3,200 meters deep and carries the particular warmth of a sea that has absorbed a century of geopolitical tension along with its solar heat. The sky is overcast. No moon. The surface is dark and slow, barely a meter of swell, driven by a faint southerly breeze that does nothing to reduce the ambient temperature of 34 degrees Celsius. Visibility at the surface is poor. Visibility below the surface is, in the relevant tactical sense, determined entirely by the sophistication of your sensors. And tonight, that distinction is going to matter more than almost anything else. Somewhere between 180 and 240 meters below the surface, the Islamic Republic of Iran's most capable submarine is attempting to do something that no Iranian naval vessel has ever successfully accomplished: establish and maintain an undetected trailing position on a United States Navy carrier strike group operating in international waters. The submarine is a Fateh-class boat, Iran's domestically produced, indigenously designed diesel-electric attack submarine, displacing approximately 600 tons submerged, armed with 6 533mm torpedo tubes, and, according to Iranian state media announcements, that the U.S. intelligence community has greeted with calibrated skepticism, a suite of domestically produced torpedoes and possibly anti-ship missiles. The Fateh-class is, by Iranian standards, a significant achievement. By the standards of the water it is currently operating in, and the force it is currently attempting to shadow, it is something considerably less than that. USS Harry S Truman, CVN 75, is 47 nautical miles to the north, proceeding northwest at 18 knots with a full carrier strike group. She has been operating in the Arabian Sea for 23 days, conducting flight operations in support of theater security commitments that will not be detailed here because they are not the story. The story is what is happening 47 nautical miles south of her, at depth, where an Iranian submarine crew believes it has found the seam in the American defensive architecture and is threading itself through it with the careful patience of sailors who have been training for this moment for years. They have not found the seam. There is no seam. And the person who has known this longest, approximately 7 hours and 14 minutes longer than the Iranian crew will ever realize, is the sonar supervisor aboard USS Alexandria, a Virginia-class attack submarine that has been trailing the Fateh at a distance of 22 nautical miles since 6:08 p.m. the previous evening, when the Fateh departed her patrol area north of Masira Island and began the approach geometry that Alexandria's crew recognized immediately and without ambiguity as a trailing evolution toward the Truman strike group. Alexandria has not transmitted. She has not maneuvered aggressively. She has not done anything that would alert the Iranian crew to her presence. She has simply followed at a comfortable distance, building her contact solution with the methodical patience of a crew that is very good at their job and that has absolutely no reason to hurry. The Fateh-class generates a diesel-electric acoustic signature that American submarine sonar teams have cataloged in detail across multiple operational contacts over the past several years. The Fateh runs on battery power when submerged, and batteries are quiet, quieter than nuclear reactors in some acoustic frequency bands, which is one reason why modern diesel-electric submarines remain tactically relevant despite their endurance limitations. But quieter than a nuclear reactor does not mean quiet in any absolute sense. And it certainly does not mean quiet relative to the AN/BQQ-10 sonar system aboard Alexandria, which is processing the Fateh's acoustic signature with a clarity that the Iranian crew, operating a domestically produced sonar suite that traces its technological lineage to equipment Iran acquired through third-party brokers in the 1990s, would find sobering if they knew it. At 1:22 a.m., Alexandria's sonar supervisor updates her contact solution. The Fateh is at 210 meters depth, making approximately 4 knots on a course of 340 degrees, directly toward the projected position of USS Harry S. Truman in approximately 3 hours and 20 minutes at current closing rate. The Iranian submarine's commanding officer has chosen his approach carefully. He is staying below the thermocline, a layer of water at approximately 150 meters in this area where temperature drops sharply, creating an acoustic shadow that makes detection from surface ships significantly more difficult. He is running slow to minimize his own noise signature. He has positioned himself to approach from the southeast, the bearing from which Truman's own noise, her propulsion, her flight operations, her engineering plant, creates the most effective masking environment for a trailing vessel. It is a competent approach, genuinely competent by the standards of a Navy with Iran's resources and training baseline. It would work, potentially, against a surface ship's hull-mounted sonar operating in these conditions. It would work, possibly, against a less capable submarine. It is not working against USS Alexandria because Alexandria is not a surface ship and is not a less capable submarine. She is a Block III Virginia class, the quietest submarine the United States has ever built, with sensors that operate on physics that the Iranian approach geometry cannot account for because the Iranian commanding officer does not know Alexandria is there. He has never known. For 7 hours and 14 minutes, he has been threading what he believes is a needle. He has been operating inside what he believes is a gap in American coverage. Every tactical decision he has made since 6:08 p.m. has been premised on the assumption that the trailing sector of a carrier strike group in deep water at night is a viable approach avenue for a careful, patient submarine. That assumption is wrong. The United States Navy has not left that sector undefended. It has placed USS Alexandria there specifically because that is the approach avenue that a competent adversary would select. The entire geometry, the thermocline, the masking noise from Truman's engineering plant, the radar shadow of the carrier's own wake, was anticipated. And a Virginia-class submarine was placed in the exact position that would allow it to see everything approaching from that direction without being detected itself. This is not an accident. This is doctrine. USS Harry S. Truman's CIC received Alexandria's contact report at 6:31 p.m. the previous evening. The strike group commander, a rear admiral with 28 years in surface warfare and 3 previous Arabian Sea deployments, read the contact summary and authorized the operation to continue exactly as planned. The Fateh would be allowed to approach. She would be tracked. Her acoustic signature would be refined and logged. Her crew's tactical decision-making would be observed and analyzed. And at the moment of the strike group commander's choosing, she would be informed, in a manner that left no room for misinterpretation, that she had never been as undetected as she believed. At 1:47 a.m., Truman turns into the wind. The reason is legitimate. She has a scheduled launch cycle for the Combat Air Patrol rotation, 2 FA-18Fs going up to relieve the pair currently on station. The launch takes 6 minutes. But the turn into the wind has a secondary effect that the Fateh's commanding officer, watching the carrier's radiated noise signature change on his sonar, will interpret as routine flight operations, not as the activation of an ASW search pattern. Because at the same moment Truman turns, the MH-60R Seahawk that has been spotted on the flight deck of USS Leyte Gulf, the Ticonderoga-class cruiser operating 11 miles off Truman's port quarter, lifts off into the dark sky. The helicopter carries 8 sonobuoys, 4 passive, 4 active, and a crew that has been briefed on the Fateh's current position, depth, course, and speed down to the nautical mile. The Seahawk does not fly directly toward the Iranian submarine. It flies a pattern that looks, to any radar observing it, like a standard area search, a back-and-forth lawnmower pattern across a roughly rectangular area of ocean 30 miles southeast of Truman. Within that pattern, disguised within the routine geometry of what appears to be precautionary ASW screening, the crew drops 4 passive sonobuoys in a precise arc chosen to bracket the Fateh's projected track for the next 45 minutes. The buoys enter the water without making any acoustic transmission. They simply listen. And what they hear within 3 minutes of entering the water is the Fateh's battery plant hum, her propeller signature, and the low-frequency tonal that her sonar suite itself generates when actively processing. A detail that the Iranian engineers who designed that sonar system probably did not intend to publish, but that American acoustic analysts cataloged from a distance 3 years ago during a previous Fateh-class patrol in the Gulf of Oman. The passive sonobuoy data is transmitted to the Seahawk's acoustic processor, then relayed via data link to Leyte Gulf's CIC, and from there to Truman. Within 8 minutes of the buoys entering the water, the carrier's intelligence officer has an independently derived contact solution on the Fateh that corroborates Alexandria's track data to within 400 meters. The Iranian submarine is exactly where Alexandria said she was. She is doing exactly what Alexandria said she was doing. She has no idea. At 2:19 a.m., a P-8A Poseidon operating from Al Minhad Air Base in the United Arab Emirates reaches its assigned station 80 miles south of Truman. The P-8A has been airborne for 2 hours and 11 minutes, the last 40 minutes of which have been spent at an altitude and on a routing specifically chosen to keep her radar and acoustic processing emissions from reaching the Fateh's electronic warfare receivers until she was in position. The P-8A crew received a full acoustic brief before departure. The Fateh's current signature parameters, her depth estimate, her course and speed, and the specific sonobuoy deployment geometry that would give the crew the best probability of independent contact classification. They have been planning this evolution for 90 minutes in the air. They are ready. The P-8A drops its first sonobuoy at 2:21 a.m. Passive, 15 miles south of the Fateh's projected position. The second buoy goes in at 2:23 a.m., 12 miles south. The third at 2:25 a.m., 9 miles south. By 2:29 a.m., the P-8A has built a passive sonobuoy barrier that extends across the Fateh's projected track at a range of 8 to 22 miles ahead of her current position. The Iranian submarine, continuing north at 4 knots, is threading herself into an acoustic net she cannot see, built by sensors she cannot detect, processed by computers she cannot jam. The Fateh's sonar operator has been running clean for over 7 hours. No contacts, no anomalies, no indication of any American ASW assets in the area. He is, by any reasonable operational assessment, exactly where his commanding officer wants him to be. Quiet, undetected, closing on a carrier group that does not know he exists. His confidence level is high. His commanding officer's confidence level is high. They are 39 nautical miles from Truman's current position. In 2 hours and 10 minutes, at current speed, they will be inside the range from which their torpedoes, domestically produced Valfajr weapons, with a claimed range of approximately 15 nautical miles, would be theoretically capable of reaching the carrier. Theoretically. Because what the Iranian torpedo would encounter, if it were ever fired in these waters, is the AN/SLQ-25 Nixie torpedo countermeasure system, towed behind Truman, and the torpedo defense systems aboard every escort vessel in the strike group, and the Mark 54 torpedoes aboard the Seahawk, currently operating 14 miles away, and a Virginia-class submarine that has been sitting on a fire control solution for the Fateh for the better part of 8 hours. But none of that is going to happen either. Because at 2:41 a.m., the strike group commander makes his decision. He authorizes the active phase. At 2:43 a.m., the P-8A activates 2 active sonobuoys simultaneously. They are positioned 7 and 9 miles directly ahead of the Fateh's current track, close enough that the acoustic ping they emit will arrive at the Iranian submarine's hull within seconds of each other, creating a signal that is unambiguous even to the Fateh's limited sonar processing capability. The active sonobuoy ping is not a subtle signal. It is a declaration. It says, in the universal language of underwater acoustics, we know exactly where you are. The first ping reaches the Fateh's hull at 2:43:17 a.m. The Fateh's sonar operator hears it. He recognizes it immediately. His next transmission to his commanding officer takes approximately 4 seconds. In the Iranian submarine's control room, in the 4 seconds between the sonar operator hearing the ping and reporting it, the commanding officer of that vessel experiences the particular quality of tactical revelation that has no good name in any language. The moment when a plan that seemed to be working is revealed, all at once and without warning, to have never been working at all. He now knows something he did not know 5 seconds ago. He does not know how long he has been detected. He does not know what assets detected him. He does not know whether there is a Virginia-class submarine 22 nautical miles behind him with a fire control solution that has been updating continuously for 8 hours. He knows only that there is an active sonobuoy directly ahead of him, and that the acoustic ping from that sonobuoy was too precise, too well placed to be coincidental. Someone put that buoy there, knowing he was coming. Someone knew his track. At 2:44 a.m., USS Alexandria increases speed to 12 knots. At 12 knots, a Virginia-class is audible to the Fateh's sonar suite at their current separation. Not loudly, not immediately, but within 90 seconds, the Fateh's sonar operator has a contact bearing 180 directly behind his submarine. A contact that was not there 90 seconds ago. a contact that is consistent, as he will tell his commanding officer, in a voice that the recording systems aboard the Fateh will capture for whatever post-operation analysis Iranian naval intelligence conducts with a large nuclear-powered submarine. The Iranian commanding officer has 4 pieces of information, and all 4 of them are bad. Active sonobuoy directly ahead. Unknown submarine contact directly behind. No clear avenue of maneuver that does not close on one threat or open toward the other. And a carrier strike group to the north, whose ASW assets are clearly far more capable and far more numerous than his pre-mission intelligence suggested. He does not know about the Seahawk's passive sonobuoy barrier to his east. He does not need to know. The information he has is sufficient. At 2:47 a.m., the Fateh turns south. She increases speed to 8 knots, the fastest she can move while maintaining any meaningful stealth, and begins a withdrawal that will take her back through the deep water of the Arabian Sea toward the safety of Iranian claimed waters near the Gulf of Oman. Her battery reserves, depleted by 8 hours of submerged operation, will require her to snorkel within approximately 4 hours. Snorkeling in water that may contain American maritime patrol aircraft is not a comfortable operational choice. But it is the choice she has. Alexandria does not pursue aggressively. She maintains a trailing distance of 18 nautical miles, close enough to hold continuous contact, far enough to avoid any ambiguity about her intentions. The P-8A repositions its sonobuoy field to bracket the Fateh's withdrawal corridor. The Seahawk recovers aboard Leyte Gulf at 3:31 a.m., having completed its assigned tasking and logged a complete acoustic record of the Iranian submarine's approach and retreat. In Truman's CIC, the strike group commander reviews the night's take. A classified intelligence summary has already been drafted. The Fateh's acoustic signature parameters, updated with 8 hours of new data. Her tactical decision-making recorded and analyzed. Her crew's response time to the active pinging logged for future reference. The Iranian submarine has been comprehensively catalogued. Every choice her commanding officer made tonight, from his initial approach geometry to his withdrawal course, has been observed, recorded, and will be used to make the next encounter. If there is one, even more asymmetric than this one. The Fateh reaches the edge of the operational area at 5:14 a.m. She surfaces briefly to snorkel at 5:49 a.m., at which point the P-8A, still on station, records her snorkel mast emissions, her radar signature, and her precise position for the intelligence package. By 6:30 a.m., she is running east toward the Gulf of Oman, and the Arabian Sea has returned to its dark, warm indifference. Iran's Fateh-class submarine program represents years of engineering effort and a genuine attempt to produce an indigenous undersea capability that provides strategic deterrence in the waters surrounding the Arabian Peninsula. The Fateh is quieter than Iran's older Kilo-class boats. She is more maneuverable. Her crew is, by regional standards, well-trained and disciplined. Her commanding officer tonight made reasonable decisions given the information he had. None of that matters, because the information he had was profoundly, systematically wrong. He did not know about Alexandria. He did not know about the P-8A's pre-positioning. He did not know that his acoustic signature had been cataloged in a classified database that his Navy cannot access. He did not know that the seam he was threading did not exist. that it had been constructed to look like a seam, specifically so that he would thread it and be observed doing so. Iran's submarine force has a doctrine problem. That doctrine is built on the assumption that the Arabian Sea has dark corners, areas of acoustic shadow and surface traffic noise where a careful diesel-electric submarine can operate undetected. That assumption is being systematically retired by a United States Navy that has spent decades building the sensor architecture to eliminate exactly those corners. Every thermocline is covered. Every noise shadow is monitored. Every approach vector toward an American carrier has an American submarine on it, waiting, patient, invisible, watching. The Fateh went home. She got nothing. She generated no targeting solution, created no strategic deterrence effect, and produced nothing that Iranian naval leadership can use to justify the mission as a success. What she produced, without knowing it, was a complete acoustic intelligence package for Pacific Fleet analysts who will spend the next several weeks refining everything they know about how Iran's submarine force thinks, moves, and responds under pressure. The Arabian Sea is not Iran's lake. It has never been Iran's lake. And every time Iran sends a submarine into it to prove otherwise, the United States Navy adds another chapter to a file that Tehran cannot read and cannot counter. Bye for now.